Welcome to Game Theory. Today we're exploring the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Sonic franchise to see what its cute cast of critters can teach us about their real-life counterparts. Are hedgehogs really the fastest things alive? What the heck is an echidna anyway? And if there's time, we'll dig deep to look at some of the forgotten members of Sonic's extended character roster. So, let's dive right in. What do we know about Sonic? Well, he's blue, wears gnarly shoes, has about 5 or so spikes on his back, and can run really fast. How fast? Well, let's let his theme song do the talking. Sonic, he's the fastest thing alive! So, I think it's safe to say that most of you watching know that hedgehogs can't be blue and have more than just 5 spines on their backs. More like 5,000. You also probably know that they aren't the fastest. That title goes to the cheetah at 70 miles per hour on land, the peregrine falcon in the air at 185 miles per hour, and the sailfish underwater at 68. But obviously a cheetah can run faster because it's bigger with longer legs. So what if we took into account the relative size of each animal? Maybe then the hedgehog is the fastest. Well, it's a nice try, but no dice. Accounting for size, the winner is the cockroach, because it can run 50 times its body length every second. That's like a human running at 185 miles per hour. It's a scary thought. That's not to say that hedgehogs are slow, though. Unlike cheetahs that can only run in short bursts of time, hedgehogs have terrific running stamina, making around 4.5 miles per hour, which turns out to be about 6.6 times their body length every second. Definitely quick for a small guy, but hardly the fastest thing alive. So here's a quick quiz. What do Samus from Metroid and Sonic the Hedgehog have in common? I'll give you a second. Ready? They're both female. Surprised? Well, you should be, because it's a lie. The real answer is that they can both curl up into tiny balls. That, and they both appear in Super Smash Bros. Brawl and have lots of creepy fan art dedicated to them, but that's beside the point. Beginning in Sonic 2, Sonic is able to rev up into a rolling spiked ball, and this, of all things, is something hedgehogs can do. Not rev up, but as a method of defense, the animal's 2 back muscles can pull the spiky skin over its belly and face, creating a prickly ball. In extreme circumstances, the hedgehog can also roll to attack, though in most cases it will just choose to run away. So, it appears that there is something accurate about Sonic's characterization after all. What about Knuckles? The games teach us that echidnas are gliding, wall-crawling animals that can dig with massive spiked fists. Should we trust them? Similar to Sonic, Knuckles really only has one attribute in common with his brethren. It's the digging. Found in Australia, echidnas have long claws that they use to burrow and forage for food, but these claws don't come close to matching the design of the Red Guardian of the Master Emerald. Like the hedgehog, they too are covered in spines, earning them the name Spiny Anteater, and use rolling into a quilled ball as a defense mechanism. But the echidna is much more than a hedgehog wannabe. Sega left out the most unique characteristics of the species, and for good reason. First, their rear legs are backwards. You heard that right. Their front feet point forwards, and their back feet backwards. It's to help them dig faster, and it must work because they date back to the dinosaurs. But they also get even weirder. Like their closest relatives, the platypus, echidnas are monotremes, which means that they're mammals that lay eggs and hatch their young. The echidna and the platypus are the only 2 animals in the world to do this. Finally, and I'm sorry to bring this up, but it's just so odd that it had to be mentioned, they have a 4-headed penis. Enough said. In any case, replacing a 4-headed penis with the ability to glide, I'd say it's a fair trade. Well done, Sega! Since there's not much time left, let's do a speed run through some of the overlooked members of the Sonic menagerie. Ready? Go! First, Tails the adorable mutant. What type of a fox is he? According to Absolute Anime, he's a fennec fox, but I disagree. Let's compare pictures. Fennecs are known for their oversized ears and black-tipped tail. Tails' ears are proportional to his head, and his tail has a white tip. His coloration of red-orange, white-tipped tail, and vertical oval pupils all point in the direction of him being a red fox. Second, Rouge the Buxom Bat, Knuckles' rival/love interest. I guess no one told her about the you-know-what, or maybe they did. Anyway, is there such a thing as a white bat? Absolutely. Take away the bustier and hooker boots, there's plenty of creepy fan art to do it for you, and Rouge looks like a dead ringer for the Honduran white bat, a snowy white fluff ball with yellow nose and ears. The Honduran white bat has also been said to have inspired the Woobat from the newest strain of Pokemon. Next, how about Espio the Chameleon? Ever heard of him? No? Well, he had the power to change into all sorts of 90s-tastic colors in Knuckles Chaotix. So, can a chameleon turn purple? According to National Geographic, yes, they can change into practically any color. Chameleons have layers of special pigment cells under their skin called chromatophores. The top layers are red and yellow, the bottom blue and white. Signals from the brain tell these cells to either grow or shrink, which causes a mixing of the pigments much like paint and can take as little as 20 seconds. Finally, we come to Storm the Albatross from Sonic Riders. Yeah, we're really digging deep. He's the big, dumb, but fiercely loyal member of the Babylon Rogues, an avian group of thieves. Real albatrosses are similar. They're known to live in colonies with other birds, so flying alongside a hawk and swallow in the Sonic games is accurate. And, unlike other animals, they are very dedicated to their partners, as shown through the lifelong pair bonds that they make with their mates. As far as being big and dumb, the giant albatross has the largest wingspan of any living bird, but these wings give them some trouble with takeoff and landing, making them look really silly. And that, my friends, is all you ever needed to know about Sonic zoology, bringing us to my final thought. It's common to hear gamers mourn the loss of Sonic, with more emphasis on supporting characters like Rouge, the Chaotix, and the Babylon Rogues, and the increasingly desperate attempts at reinvention. Many consider Sonic to be one of the most beaten dead horses in the gaming industry, and bizarrely enough, real life offers deep insight into this. The first Sonic game was released in June of 1991. Sonic & Knuckles, considered by many to be the last great Sonic game, came 3.5 years later in October of 1994. The average lifespan for a Hedgehog? I kid you not, 3.5 years. But let's take it one step further. The Dreamcast games, Sonic's triumphant jump to 3D, were also very well received, with Sonic Adventure 2 being the last, before the waves of odd design choices and bad reviews hit him in the aughts. Adventure 2 was released 10 years after the original. Is it a coincidence, then, that the maximum lifespan of a Hedgehog is 9 years? Art imitates life, unintentionally. Welcome to Game Theory, the show where nothing's made up, and the points do matter. That's right, the points actually matter, unlike everything Drew Carey does in improv comedy. Oh, come on, you know it's true. Cue the clip.
You are my soulmate, baby. Lace up my shoe and take me on a... Oh, sorry, one more.
So, Donkey Kong Country. Amazing platformer, terrific franchise, flag-burning anti-American propaganda. Whoa! Step off there, Holmes. It's just a game about monkeys and bananas. Or is it? DKC is anti-USA, and that SUCKS, HERE''S-WHY. Loyal theorists will recall from the Adventure Island episode that America doesn't always get along well with its island neighbors. In that episode, we looked at the Philippine-American War, where the US stepped in to save the Filipinos from their Spanish rulers, only to then take control themselves. Hey, we're here to save you, psych! But that wasn't the only island on America's hit list. Around that same time, starting in 1898, America also set its sights on the Caribbean and Central America, systematically occupying Cuba, Puerto Rico, Nicaragua, Haiti, Honduras, Mexico, and the Dominican Republic. The reason for these conflicts? Bananas. No joke. This period became known as the Banana Wars, as America fought to wrap its greedy little fingers around these fruity phalli. The United Fruit Company, or as you would know them, Chiquita, was an American company seeking to dominate the banana market in the Caribbean by controlling the distribution of banana land. As a result, United Fruit seized control of these island nations despite being a US company, becoming the equivalent of corporate dictators by usurping local governments. Like Hitler, but with a fun tropical theme. They were so powerful that when their investments were threatened in these foreign nations, they were able to convince the US military to intervene. Which brings us back to Donkey Kong Country. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this guy, King K. Rool, the ultimate villain in the DK universe, an angry alligator bent on stealing all the Kong's bananas. But have you ever stopped to wonder why he wants those bananas? I mean, the game never really explains it. It's not like a carnivorous alligator eats bananas after all. And in DK Jungle Climber, he openly admits to hating them. So could it be that he wants these for financial gain? Greg Mayles, one of the designers for DKC, has gone on record saying that K. Rool may steal the bananas because he wants Donkey Kong to starve to death, allowing K. Rool to occupy his treehouse. Now, as we all know, Americans have a flair for occupying things, and we did just finish talking about how US soldiers were occupying all these island nations during the Banana Wars, but that's a bit of a stretch. So let's look at K. Rool himself. The guy dresses like a king, but the final level takes place on a pirate ship. The two things just don't match up until you consider this. This is a political cartoon of the man most associated with America's early imperialism and the start of the Banana Wars, President Theodore Roosevelt. Nice cape, right? So then why is he on a pirate ship, you ask? United Fruit Company was also known for their armed fleet, surplus boats that they got from the US Navy after the Spanish-American War. So a king on a pirate ship might not be so bizarre after all. In addition to owning the Banana Land, United Fruit also controlled international railways running through Central America. At one point, it discouraged the government of Guatemala from building highways simply because it would threaten their monopoly over transportation. That's a low blow. What's worse, though, is that when it left an area, the company was known to destroy its rail system. Think back to Donkey Kong Country. What were the most memorable levels in the game? The ones with the broken down mine tracks. Okay, that's a lot of assumptions to make. Convincing you that a game about gorillas and alligators fighting over bananas is an allegory for American imperialism is going to take a whole lot more than phallic fruit wars, a president in a cape, a pirate ship, and some broken minecart tracks. But this is game theory, where we cover every angle possible. Thus, I present to you Krusha the Kremling, one of King K. Rool's chief underlings. In a game where clothing is limited to the occasional double windsored tie, don't you find it odd that this guy is sporting an army-issue camouflage unitard? Clearly this points to the Kremlings being symbolic of some sort of organized militia.
But MatPat,
I hear your eager fingers clicking away in the comments.
camo uniforms aren't just for the US Army.
True, my loyal, smart, and incredibly hot theorists. So true. Which is why you should meet my other friend, Clump.
Hercules, Hercules.
A rotund little reptile sporting an ammo belt and a helmet. More specifically, though, a US issue ammo belt and an M2 infantry helmet featuring markings clearly referencing the US's symbol for an NCO, or non-commissioned officer. Coincidence? I think not. But that's not all, my analytical apes. Consider World 5. Kremcock. Woohoo, boy, bananas on the brain. Freudian slip. Kremcrock Industries Incorporated. It's an oddly themed anomaly in a game that's nature-centric throughout. You have Congo Jungle, Monkey Mines, Vine Valley, Gorilla Glacier, Chimp Caverns, and then Kremcrock Industries Incorporated. Curious, no, that the only world that makes explicit reference to the reptile invaders is the same one that's associated with industrialization? Not only that, the game goes out of its way to portray this company in a negative light. The overworld map depicts a building spewing chemicals into the air. One of the stages is named Polluted Pond, for crying out loud. The company is clearly a destructive force, ruining the beauty of Kong Island. And I'm sure I don't need to spell out for you that industrialization is pretty much always symbolic of the good old US of A. But more importantly, look at what Kremcrock is harvesting. Oil. How do I know? As soon as you enter the world, your first stage is Oil Drum Alley. Both factory levels are loaded with burning oil drums. Even the final boss is a giant oil canister. Wait, sorry, let me rephrase that. The final boss is an oversized industrial storage basin literally sent to crush the natural inhabitants of the island. Subtle much? But going beyond the America is evil, industry ruins everything aspects of this, a quirky little spin-off of the Banana Wars involved the US invading Mexico to protect their oil interests. What started off as a cute little sitcom-y misunderstanding between cultures escalated into a 6-month occupation by the US in the Mexican city of Veracruz. So let's recap. We have a war over bananas, led by an imperialistic president, featuring an industrialized enemy, with an armed fleet that owns and destroys rail lines, who uses a well-equipped army to secure fruit and oil for the good of Kremland. Welcome to Game Theory, where our favorite F word is funambulism, which means tightrope walking, duh. I'm also a fan of the words slangwanger, widdershins, and collywobbles, but now we're just indulging ourselves and turning into Morosofts, so I'll stop my digressing. Today we're talking about the angry video game nerd, the internet's most famous gamer. Angriest gamer? Before him. Now you're just messing with me. Nope, that's the happy video game nerd. Ah, there it is. The original angry gamer. Long before the days of the bro-fisted, the grumps, and the theorists, there was the nerd. And Shitpickle, but everyone tries to forget about him. In fact, the nerd was the first gaming celebrity I'd ever heard about that wasn't Miyamoto or some big game developer, who was just, quite simply, a gamer. He was the one who introduced me, and I think many of us, to the world of online video as a medium for game discussion and comedy. Quite frankly, he was a pioneer of the field, and without him, the gaming landscape across the web would look incredibly different, especially here on YouTube. But for as much as we laugh at the AVGN, and mind you, we're talking about the AVGN character and not James Rolfe the creator, when you come right down to it, there's a disturbing trend across his content, with the nerd's archive of videos documenting a string of alarming symptoms pointing towards severe mental and physical illnesses. Seriously, I'm worried about this guy. So for his sake, and for the sake of all of us who love trash-talking glitchy movie tie-ins and oversized AC adapters, what's wrong with the angry video game nerd? Let's diagnose. First, his namesake, the anger. Well, yes, anger is a natural emotion in everyone, and yes, broken, poorly programmed, and excessively difficult games can make anyone rage. His reactions are, well, a bit more extreme, rivaled only by this Russian kid. Yikes. And while everyone might shout out the occasional darn or shucks while working their way through a particularly challenging level, his feelings are a bit more colorful.
Now you're playing with f***ing shit. You're better off f***ing shit than f***ing with this f***ed up this shit. You don't know shit about how f***ing shitty this f***ing shit is.
What? You can't expect me to actually air that stuff, can you? I mean, come on now. This is a family-friendly show after all. Hey, that was from a different, more confused time, okay? Past attempts at clickbaiting aside, though, having these sorts of intense reactions in situations where, let's face it, he's still on level 1 of a pretty mediocre video game, seems to suggest that the nerd suffers from a condition called intermittent explosive disorder, or IED, a completely real mental illness that's characterized by extreme expressions of anger, often to the point of uncontrollable rage, that are disproportionate to the situation at hand. Muttering a mild curse because you missed a jump? Normal. Beating Bugs Bunny to the brink of death, then defecating on the victim? Abnormal. Gnashing one's teeth and pulling their hair after losing a critical in-game moment? Normal. Using a flaming crossbow to destroy a decently functional gaming system? Abnormal. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, better known as the DSM-5, is the Bible of abnormal psychology. According to this document, to be properly diagnosed with a disorder, you need to meet 3 criteria. The first is that the anger needs to result in damage to either a person or property. Yeah. The second is that the explosive behavior needs to be disproportionate to the inciting action, i.e. big reactions to small events. And while yes, I agree that the Jaguar was a lackluster system, the normal response would not be to pull down one's pants and relieve oneself upon it. So definitely a big checkmark there, but it's the third that gives us a challenge. You see, this one requires that the behavior cannot be accounted for by another condition, and in this case, I think there might be an even better explanation for his erratic behavior. This Russian kid, on the other hand, total case of IED. Because when you come right down to it, the nerd is a lot more than simply an explosive rage addict. Over and over, we see evidence that he experiences intense symptoms of mental illness. What I'm talking about are his highly vivid hallucinations. Ninjas, comic book characters, floating pickles of excrement, even a cyborg religious figure he's named Super Mecha Death Christ. The nerd reacts to these creations with such vehemence that it seems to suggest that he may be suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, a mental illness defined by extreme delusions and hallucinations. It's a pretty extreme claim, so in order to fully diagnose him, we need to look a bit closer. A common delusion among paranoid schizophrenics is that you've been singled out for harm, and we see this time and time again. The nerd's insistence that he was tied up and punished by the Joker, or that he was actively pursued by fictional nightmare creatures like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees. Paranoid schizophrenics may also have delusions of grandeur, the belief that they can fly, that they're famous, for example. In the nerd's case, he repeatedly assumes the role of an accessory-clad superhero who must defeat both the devil and rampaging robots, calling to his side the help of Jesus Christ himself. And finally, the delusions can result in aggression or violence if you believe you must act in self-defense against those who want to harm you. See also Bugs Bunny. So the nerd is clearly delusional, but there's more. Paranoid schizophrenia also comes in a bundle pack with auditory hallucinations. The person suffering from the illness hears unpleasant voices that are cruel, making ongoing criticisms of what they're thinking or doing. Throughout the nerd's videos, no example is better than the glitch gremlin, a creature who harasses the nerd mercilessly throughout his play session. Other symptoms of paranoid schizophrenia include extreme anger and bursts of intense violence, and we already know that the nerd has those. In short, taking years worth of nerd videos into consideration, the diagnosis is clear. What we've been laughing at hasn't been a stereotyped caricature of the gaming nerd persona. No. What we've been laughing at for millions upon millions of hours is a mentally disturbed gamer clearly in need of psychiatric consultation. Dear theorists watching this video, indulge me a moment while I reach out directly to this man, this individual, in an attempt to correct the years of neglect that we've shown him. Nerd, if you're watching this, and I hope to Super Mecha Death Christ that you are, there's more. Now, I had hoped to tell you this privately, and I hate to bring this up in a public forum, but your Twitter unfortunately remained silent to my requests, so this is the only option I have left. After observing the tapes, something else rather concerning came to my attention. I guess there's no beating around the bush. I'm worried about your bowel movements. Across all your tapes, I noticed a disturbing trend in your, pardon the phrase, anal excretions. Roll the tape. You see here, as you evacuate onto Bugs Bunny's face, your fecal matter is incredibly loose, unable to form an actual stool. The excrement here is practically the consistency of melted chocolate mixed with water. In short, the rapidity of the evacuation, the volume pouring out of your anus, and the way your buttocks just seems to open this veritable floodgate is cause for concern. But that's not all. If you look here, as you defecate onto this Jaguar CD, it appears as though you're actually experiencing the opposite problem. Your feces is thick and sticky. The look on your face seems to indicate that this is painful and difficult to pass, almost as though you're constipated. And examining the sample closer, or at least as close as the medium of online video will allow me to investigate, shows poor digestion of the contents of your stomach. Personally, these symptoms make me worried that you might be suffering from an inflammatory bowel disease, specifically Crohn's disease. But without getting to examine the buttock region in person, I can't 100% make that distinction. Just be careful, okay? The last thing you want is to develop an anal blockage, or worse, a fistulae, which are these tunnels connecting anal abscesses to infected block glands. It's sticky. Anyway, just watch your ass. literally. In the end, both paranoid schizophrenia and irritable bowel syndrome are treatable, but you should get that treatment immediately, nerd. Or not. I mean, we've all been laughing at your physical and mental illnesses for the past 8 years, and it seems to have made you quite successful, so I guess you could keep going with it. But at the very least, you now know what's going on, if you didn't already. So take that information and use it as you see fit. And out here in the Weboverse, just rest assured that one theorist is paying attention to you.